Update 2, my mother's best friend has been hitting on me a lot recently and she is super hot. But I have a girlfriend. So I have talked to my friends about the situation and told them no matter how much I try to laugh the whole thing off and go on with life without saying anything to anyone, I'm finding it hard to do so. Their advice was less than helpful, and the general consensus of them all was that I should be thankful a goddess like my mother's friend decided to do that to me. In their words, I got to just lie there, get a nut off by a super hot woman, not tell my girlfriend and basically obtain a get-out-of-jail-free card because my mother's friend decided to substance me. This hurt a lot and I told my friends I needed some time to think. I did not broach the subject with my mother, and I figured that my girlfriend deserved to know what happened first. The next time I came over to hers I asked her if we could sit down and talk, then I told her my account of what happened. I did not cry or show much emotion, I just told her that I never wanted any of that happen and I had zero intention of doing anything with her and what happened really has traumatized me. My girlfriend's response was to tell me to leave because she needed to think about it. She ended up giving me a call a few hours later to ask me why I thought it was okay for me to dance with her in the first place, and I asked her if that was seriously her takeaway from what happened here. She asked it again and I told her I was just dancing with my mother's friend, there was nothing inappropriate, and when she turned around to seduce me I excused myself, but my girlfriend refused to take this. Furthermore, she stated that the fact while my mother's friend was on me during the night I never tried to push her off makes her see it as cheating. I told her she literally Dr. Ged me and borderline roped me, but according to my girlfriend because I was conscious I should have pushed her off, and even though I explained to her I literally did not have the strength to do so and was still disoriented, she still said she saw this as cheating and could not continue the relationship. This hurt, especially because I have been with her for 4 years and we have survived much bigger storms in the relationship, and I have in the past forgiven her for doing more than this too. Seeing as I was now out of the relationship, I figured that when life gives me lemons I should make lemonade, and so I sent my mother's best friend a text asking her to meet up and talk about something. There was a part of me that thought about actually just sleeping with her, but I decided against it. When we met up, I confronted her on what she did. I said I knew all about it and detailed to her that what she did not only traumatized me, but it also cost me my relationship as my girlfriend believed that what happened was consensual and it was cheating. I also told her I am no feel, this was without a doubt a case of me getting Dr. Ged and roped. However, despite all this I mentioned I was not going to accuse her publicly or spread rumors about it or anything. I'm not a malicious person who will do things in revenge. I told her that what she did was disgusting, and she was lucky I was as cool-headed and calm as I was, because if she tried that with the wrong person it could have very well ended up with her in the ER. We left this meet-up on terms that she would never try anything with me again and she is not to make any attempts to reconcile nor say anything to my mother as I will do so myself if I ever feel like it. Update: my mother's best friend has been hitting on me a lot recently and she is super hot. But I have a girlfriend. So the trip to Paris came and went and I think I have come out of the trip more traumatized than I have ever been. So technically I ended up hooking up with my mother's best friend. But it wasn't exactly like that. So our first night there went well. We went out to get some food and get some drinks, and of course the best friend tried to make some hints, even going as far as offering to come into her room while she was changing so I could help her pick her outfit. She also shamelessly asked me to come into her room so I could see for myself how comfortable her mattress is. I think she had completely given up on being subtle by this point. As for my mother, she was either completely oblivious to her best friend hitting on me, or she was not doing anything at all to stop it. I never talked to her about it though, as that is a conversation that is way too weird to have with my mother. The canon event of this holiday happened on the second day we were there, which was my mother's birthday. My mother has been to Paris a lot and she has a distinct restaurant there which she loves more than any other restaurant in the world, so we went to get dinner there. Afterwards, we proceeded to go out for the night. Despite being near 40, my mother still has an animal party side to her and she loves to go out and dance. She is a free spirit, I suppose. So we went out, and things were going well. I was dancing with my mother when my mother's best friend interrupted and took my hand away from my mother's and started to dance a bit. I was under the influence by this point and so I didn't care much for it. I danced away. She then tried to turn around and get me to hold her hips, but I stopped her, and told her I was going to sit down on the other end of the club for a minute as the loud music was hurting my ears. A few minutes later my mother's friend came up to me with a drink saying she bought one for me and asked me how my ears were. I thanked her and drank it, and I remember nothing else. All I do remember, however, is waking up still very drowsy and disoriented to what happened and feeling my mother's best friend's hands everywhere. Before I could even say anything I felt her mouth going there. I could barely feel anything, and I wasn't even sure if this was actually happening as I was so out of it. I stayed silent most of the time and eventually she ended up getting on me, and she did it until I nut, which took around 15 minutes. Could have been more or less, I do not know. What I do know is that I never resisted and never put up a fight, but I felt very weak and could barely even move my body at all, so even if I wanted to have I would have struggled to get her off. I asked my mother and best friend what happened last night and they said I was dancing and then went limp and passed out on my mother, so they called a cab, went back to the hotel and put me to sleep. They said nothing else, and I didn't ask any further questions. I'm now back home and I texted my girlfriend saying the trip was good, and she asked me as a joke if my mother's best friend had tried anything. I said no. I suppose this makes me a victim, however, and I'm not sure how comfortable I feel around my mother's best friend now, but I suppose I can just put it out of my mind and get on with it. My mother's best friend has been hitting on me a lot recently and she is super hot. But I have a girlfriend. So I am 19 years old and I met my mother's best friend for the first time a few months ago when she came over to our house, and one of the very first things she said to me is, "I would go for you in an instant if I was 20 years younger." I laughed it off thinking it was some sort of joke and told her I'm flattered, but I hate to break her heart and let her know that I have a girlfriend. She laughed it off too and I thought that was that. We exchanged more small talk and she then commented about how good my forearms look. I thanked her for the compliment and my mother came back from the toilet at that moment, so I left the sitting room and let them do whatever. However, I'm now certain that despite me being 20 years younger than she is very much interested in getting into bed with me. She has been visiting my house a lot recently, and in a weird way it's almost as if my mother knows she wants to sleep with me and is trying to help her out. My mother always finds a way to leave us alone, and without fail every time her best friend says something with some intimate undertone. One of the times this happened she made a remark about being able to see my abs throughout the compression shirt I was wearing and that my girlfriend is a lucky woman. She then followed that statement up by showing off how long her tongue is by touching her nose with it. I don't know if this woman knows, but touching your nose with your tongue isn't exactly riz. Either way, she has done the following things which make me suspect she is into me. She has brushed by me in a way where my manhood ends up pressing against her behind. She has tried to take my hands into hers while talking to me. She has taken many photos of us and has kissed my cheek in one of them as well as wrapped her arm around my chest in another. One of the times we were alone she decided to eat a banana in a very slow manner in front of me, and the last time she came over she decided to throw all her subtleness out the window. I went downstairs to get a drink and conveniently my mother decided she needed to go toilet for a few minutes there and then. My mother's best friend was wearing very tight jeans, and she asked me if I thought her butt has been growing as she has been hitting the gym recently, and she proceeded to stand up and turn around and hit a pose, placing her behind a few feet away from me. I told her sure, and she blushed and giggled like a little girl. That happened a week ago, and just today my mother surprised me by booking me and her a 2-day getaway in Paris, her favorite city, so me and her could celebrate her birthday. I was overjoyed with this, and then my mother broke the news that her best friend was also going because in her words, she wanted to celebrate her birthday in her favorite place with her 2 favorite people. Here's the thing, my mother's best friend is unbelievably attractive, and in amazing shape. Despite being a mother and almost 40, she is somehow very toned and lean, and I have seen her in a bikini once as we have a swimming pool and she came over for a swim once. I know she wants to do something with me during this getaway to Paris, but I have a girlfriend and I don't think I have an interest in doing anything, despite how attractive she may be. However, I have talked to my friends and they say I would be an idiot to pass up the opportunity.